Chapter 5. Safire, age 17, August. "I'll be back before you know it," Dagmar said as I hugged her tightly. "It's only a few months. Now, I expect you to write me a letter every week so I don't get too lonesome." I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. She touched my hair, leaving traces of her sage scent to comfort me before she let go and climbed into the waiting carriage. Father stepped forward, holding up a leather pouch. "Here's some more coin, sweet." "But, Father, you already gave me coin," Dagmar said as she settled onto the seat and looked down at us, her hands resting on the window ledge. "That was silver and gold. These are coppers. You'll need them to tip the servants at court." She nodded and reached down. As her fingers closed around the pouch, I noticed her shoulders jerk. She set the coins on the seat with a clinking and then looked at us again, wiping her eyes with her handkerchief. I held up my hand and she clasped it until Bolton snapped the reins. With a rumble of wheels and a clop of horses' hooves, the carriage moved forward. "Keep her safe on the road, Bolton," Father called, and Bolton lifted one hand in acknowledgement. Dagmar leaned out the window until they reached the end of the drive. Then she waved and retreated back into the carriage, disappearing from view. I couldn't believe it would be at least 2 months before I saw her again. She was going to court before her unofficial betrothal to Selwyn became official with a contract. Even though Father approved of the match, he wanted to see if she could snag any other offers so that he would have more bargaining leverage with the House of Landers. When I had asked Dagmar how she felt about Selwyn, she had only offered a vague smile and said, "He's a Landers, what I've always wanted." An answer which made me groan and put my hands over my eyes as I shook my head. Dagmar had thought I had suddenly taken ill, which I suppose in a way I had. "Seems a bit callous, her going to court to meet other young men when she knows she's going to marry Selwyn," I remarked, kicking at the gravel as the carriage vanished in a curve of the road. "What if some poor man falls desperately in love with her and challenges Selwyn to a duel?" Father laughed and patted my head. "You and your romantic notions. For your sake, I hope some highborn man does fall in love with her and challenges the Landers." "Why for my sake?" "Because the fewer acres I have to offer for Dagmar's dowry are the more acres I can offer for yours when the time comes. If all I have left is the swamp and the house for your dowry, you'd best start being nicer to Peregrine." "Father, I'm always going to hate him." Father sighed, scratching his bald spot. "So you keep telling me." "I'll never marry him." "So you keep telling me," he repeated. When I glared at him, he sighed again. "Safire, I just want to be certain both you and Dagmar are provided for before I join your mother. Now, if you want to string along Peregrine, fine. Just keep doing it until I have a firm offer for you from another man you like better." I snorted. "That shouldn't take long. I could marry the first man I meet on the road into town, and I'd wager I'd like him better than I do Peregrine." I should have known you would make a jest of it and split hairs. "I suppose I should have said a firm offer from a highborn man you like better." I held out my hands, fingers spread, palms facing the sky, as if I hoped God would drop my true love straight from heaven into my arms. "But you never let me meet highborn men, Father, so how am I supposed to find this mythical alternative to Peregrine?" "Peregrine will be my doom. You'll make him my doom. I swear, if you force me into a betrothal with him, I'll elope with the first willing peasant I can find." "I'll disown you if you do," he said, jabbing the air with his finger, before he turned to go back in the house. "Sure you will," I muttered, following him. It was a threat I had heard from him before, and like all his threats, I didn't take it very seriously. I trudged upstairs to my chamber and fell across my bed. I lay there for a long while, lightly kicking the footboard in a dull rhythm as I watched the darting shadows of the birds outside the windows flying across the floor and listening to their chirps and shrill quarrels. I wished I could have gone to court with Dagmar. I missed her already. It wouldn't be so bad if Lawrence was still here and I had lessons to occupy me. But now that I was almost 17 and a half and Dagmar was 20 and practically betrothed, we no longer needed a tutor. I helped Bolton's quiet wife greet in the kitchen in the mornings and did some other chores. I loved feeding the chickens and geese. But none of these pursuits provided the mental diversion lessons had. And I could draw and read all day, but as much as I enjoyed those two activities, they were solitary. No one else here liked to read, and none of them wanted to see my sketches. I didn't mind solitude with my books and sketchboard as long as it was tempered with meals together and conversations and trips to Calcours. But now, aside from me and Father eating dinner together and Peregrine's visits, I would have no one to talk to. With both Dagmar and Bolton gone, I was lonely. I sat up, my feet hitting the floor with a decisive thump, which was odd, as I had no idea where they were taking me. When they had halted before my trunk and I fell on my knees before it in reverence of my hidden art, I knew then what I must do. Dagmar and Bolton were gone. Dagmar for a few months, Bolton for at least a week until he got Dagmar safely settled at court. They were my loving keepers, my guards, and without them here, I would be lonely, yes, but I could also do what I had secretly longed to do since I had kissed Terraster Greyhills at the market that day over a year ago. I opened the trunk and pulled out the portfolio where I stowed my best sketches. This I stuffed in my leather satchel with a small pouch of coppers, my allowance. After I had collected these items and slung the satchel over my shoulder, I slammed the trunk shut and raced for the doorway. Father was in his study down the hall. The door hung partly ajar. I knocked, then poked my head around the edge. He glanced up from a letter he composed, the thin foolscap rustling. "I'm taking Strawberry for a ride," I said, a fluttering moth-wing tickle of nerves inside. Not a lie precisely, but not the whole truth either. If he knew the whole truth, he would forbid me to go. "All right, sweet, just be careful, and be back in time for dinner." He smiled before turning back to his letter, and the sight of it broke my heart. He loved me, wanted the best for me, so why did I so often have to conceal the truth from him? Sour shame and sweet excitement warred inside as I saddled Strawberry. The battle raged as we cantered out of the courtyard and down the road, Strawberry snorting and prancing and gnawing on her bit with obvious impatience. It had been several days since I had ridden her, the poor dear. Usually Dagmar and I rode at least every other day, but there had been little time during the last week as I helped her prepare for her journey to court. By the time we reached the main road to Calcours, excitement had vanquished shame, at least for now, and I leaned over Strawberry's mane, urging her forward. She needed little encouragement, quickly catching my wild mood as it mirrored her own longing to run free. I inhaled the scents of hay and horse sweat and laughed breathlessly, feeling the satchel slap my back as Strawberry picked up speed.